So welcome everyone. This is Alliance Realty Group, and we are at Alliance Ask Alliance session. And we have a special guest today. And thank you so much, Mike, for sharing with us all the information, all your wisdom. Mike is an inspector with Wisconsin Property Inspections, and he has a reputation for quality, exceptional customer service, same days reports, convenience, fast scheduling, and responsiveness. And I think Mike has pride for actually not just checking out the house, but also educating their customers and clients. So thank you, Mike. I'm sure if you want to know more about it, just go on Wisconsin's Properties Inspections website, and there is a lot of testimonials there for you. So I guess we're going to go in a Q&A session. We have some questions that were submitted, and we came up with some other ones. So unless there's something else, start us off. And do we want to just go around and name ourselves as well so we know who is who?
All right,
well,
so I guess
as introduced. Oh, I'm sorry, Lori.
no, go, Mike, go.
Well, as introduced, I'm Mike Marzion. I own Wisconsin Property Inspections. We're a team of 5 inspectors.
Oh.
Good. I'm Lori Wertheimer. I'm one of the realtors with Alliance Realty Group. Curtis?
We have the sequence. We have the sequence. Remember?
Okay. My name is Curtis Lemaitre, also with Alliance Realty Group.
And I'm Vadim Ruzo with Alliance Realty Group, also one of the realtors.
Also with Alliance Realty.
Okay, we are in and out with the sound, but that was Artem Asrians, and I'm Alexis Ruzo, Alliance Realty. Here it is.
All
So-
right. Do you want me to kick off with the questions? Or Mike, do you want to start with a little bit of a, with some type of more of an overview?
All right. Well, what we were going to talk about briefly today is just what to do to get your house ready for winter. And just some ideas around that. And then we can also take questions if you want about what the home inspection process from a home inspector's perspective.
Curtis, oh, Lori, go ahead.
Sorry. So I'm sorry, my internet. So Mike, they've always said that you should have your furnace serviced and cleaned every year and change the filter. Why?
Well, the reason you want to have your service furnace before the season is because the winter season is the roughest on the furnaces. They work the hardest. And if your furnace is not working optimally, it'll most likely break during the coldest day of the year or the day that it's working the hardest. So having a little bit of preventive maintenance on your furnace can ensure that it's ready for the hard winter and that it decreases the likelihood of it breaking down in midwinter, especially on a cold day. It's cheaper to get it serviced in advance or preventative maintenance than it is to get serviced on the day where you have a no heat situation in your house.
And just as a quick follow-up, how many times a year should I be changing my filter?
You should change your filter. If it's one of those small ones, it's about 1 inch thick. It should be changed monthly. If it's a thicker one, like 4 or 5, 6 inches thick, it can be changed every 6 months. But if it's a thinner furnace filter, like I have in my own house, I change it every month.
And then I got one more question, then I promise to let you go on to the next person. There are furnace filters now that can be cleaned and that it's not the disposable in and throw out. Do you recommend those versus the disposable one? Is there a plus and a minus?
The disposable ones are much more convenient. You pull them out, you throw them in the garbage, you put the new one in, and you move on down the road. The cleanable ones, the ones you have to rinse out, they're nice, but you have to rinse them out and you have to dry them thoroughly or completely before you can put them back into your furnace. And they just add some steps to the process. They're very good at filtering out the dust and dirt in the air. It's harder to clean them. It just takes time and you have to clean them properly to keep them working optimally.
Fair enough. All right.
Mike, I wonder, how do you avoid getting condensation on interior of the windows?
Well, there'll always windows in a modern house. There's always going to be some degree of condensation along the bottom, but it shouldn't be a lot. And it should go away fairly quickly, but during the heating season, because of the cold outside air and because of the warm, moist inside air, that condensation happens. A lot of times that turns into a problem is when the house has a whole house humidifier on it, or if there's a humidity problem in the house caused by some other water intrusion. And that's if you see a lot of moisture. And if you see a lot of moisture, our first steps are to try to identify what the source of that moisture is that's causing condensation, because a house should not have enough condensation where you damage your windowsills, damage your window frames, or have any other kind of damage. A small amount on the coldest days is normal. If it's not one of the coldest days, or if you see a lot, a real lot, you have to start looking for the source of moisture in that house. Some of the sources of moisture would be showers without turning on the ventilation fan, cooking without turning on ventilation fans, a whole house humidifier that's set at a rate of adding humidity higher than the house can handle, or a water leak somewhere, which would be the worst of all of them, but also the least likely of all of them.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mike, I've got one for you here. This one comes up quite often in inspections, or maybe it's just my luck. I don't know. Can you speak a little bit to the importance of those water shutoff valves for the outside, those spigots, you know, especially going into winter, draining those lines, draining the garden hoses, or maybe just disconnecting them? Just some intel on that.
Yes, the thing to do is, this is the time of the year, if it's not done yet, it should be done now, is you should disconnect your hoses and drain them and put them away for the year. And then you should also turn off the inside hose faucet on the inside of your house, so your hose faucet doesn't have water running to it anymore. If you don't do that, when that faucet freezes, it will likely crack or break the seal, and you will have a continuously running faucet in spring that will need to be replaced. Now, there are some frost-proof faucets out there that they say do not have to be winterized. Many people still choose to winterize them only because they're still concerned that in the coldest of days, they will freeze and they will cause damage to the faucet. On my own house, I already have them shut off. I have the hoses drained and put away, and I have the faucet actually drained, so there's no water in it. And that's often done in your basement on the pipe leading to the hose faucet.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, I got another question for you, Mike. So why is it recommended to check your settings on your thermostat and change batteries in your thermostat, smoke, and CO2 detectors?
Yep, it's a really good question, Curtis. Changing the batteries in your thermostat. If you have a battery-powered thermostat, and a lot of the programmable rectangular ones are, when the batteries go out, they're going to either not work and ask for heat, or they'll ask for heat and not shut off at all, because their default is they don't want to freeze your house. Some of them, though, won't work at all. And this is the time of the year to change those. And while you're at it, just make sure your settings are where they want to be, because we're going from a cooling season to a heating season. And this is a time where you want to make sure the transition is as seamless as possible. This is also the time of the year to change the batteries in your CO detectors and your smoke detectors so that you don't forget. That should be done twice a year, at spring or at fall. And we're at fall right now, so it's the time to buy your batteries, put new batteries in your thermostat if it needs them, and to put batteries in all of your smoke detectors, CO detectors, and to test them. Hit the button and make sure they're actually working.
Great. And then a follow-up, and then for detectors, like, what do you recommend for when they should be replaced?
Well, the life of a modern detector is 10 years old. However, if you have an older detector and you're uncertain of its age, it should be replaced. If it's of a yellow color, the yellow ones are automatically obsolete in the home inspecting world. All right. They don't sell any yellow color detectors anymore. So when we see those in a house, we automatically recommend that they be replaced. But when in doubt, you should just change them. And if they don't act exactly like they should be working, they should also be replaced.
All right, thank you.
Modern ones don't have replaceable batteries, by the way. The modern ones have 10-year batteries, and the whole unit is disposable. And the goal is that they want you to put that in your house, run it for 10 years, and throw it away and not mess with it anymore. But you also can't remove the batteries from them.
Oh, it's good to know. Thank you.
Indeed it is. Wow. We're learning so much, and yet we've been to so many inspections.
Right.
There's always something new. So exterior, getting ready for winter, gutters, downspouts, sump pump extensions, What do we do? Do you believe in those gutter protectors, and why?
Okay, let's talk about the management of the water on the outside of your house. The gutters, the downspouts and the extensions that flow the water away, and your sump pump discharge hose are all part of a system trying to keep the water from keeping it away from the area immediately next to your house. You don't want to fill the dirt around your house with water, because in Wisconsin it will freeze. Clay soil holds water, it freezes, and it will push your basement walls in. It adds a lot of pressure to your house. So they recommend between 6 or 8 feet from your house that all of the water be directed away from that. So the first step is make sure the dirt leading away from your house is sloped away appropriately, not bringing the water back to your house. Make sure your downspouts are extended and your sump pump extension tube is extended, hopefully not towards your driveway, because it'll make an ice rink out of your driveway. And then ultimately your gutters have to be clean, because you need your gutters to catch that water as it leaves your roof and not dump it right next to your house. And what the leaves will do is they'll fill it up and the water will go right over the top of the gutter. And I like gutter guards. In fact, I just put them on my house, a whole series all the way around, because I don't like cleaning out my gutters. Now, none are perfect, but they will greatly reduce the amount of maintenance it takes on your house to clean your gutters and make sure your gutters are actually working. And it's not a bad idea if it's raining, go out there and watch what the water's doing. See where the water is going when it's raining next to your house, and make sure you're directing it appropriately downhill if possible and away from your house.
Awesome, thank you. And when we come to the house and we see all these black pipes out there and they don't make it look so pretty, how do you feel about the ones that are buried down versus the ones that are outside? Any comment on that?
I buried them on my own house, Alexis, because I hate the look. It's functional. So, I mean, if you have no other options, if we're into a freezing situation where you can't dig in the soil, laying them on top is not a bad thing until spring, where you can bury them. And those corrugated ones, although they're okay, I don't bury those because they can collapse. So if you're going to bury the pipes, you should spend a few more dollars and buy actual PVC pipes that are smooth and stronger, structurally stronger. So you only have to do the job once. And they're actually smooth on the inside too, so leaves and other stuff won't get caught in there. But no matter what, the whole goal right now is to make sure you got that water away from your house as much as possible for fall and spring and through winter.
Thank you.
Well, now that we've discussed.
On that gutter guard, Mike, that you're talking about, is there a specific style or brand? I was just at my folks' house yesterday and my dad was outside. It was nice weather and he was outside cleaning those gutters. I'm like, man, I really need to look into those gutter guards. So which ones would you recommend? You get what you pay for. Realizing that installation is a large part of the cost of them. Okay. And that's kind of a big deal. The ones I put on my house are called Gutter Glove. They're stainless steel mesh, and I bought them at Costco on sale. Okay. Up on sale, I immediately jumped on them. I bought enough to do my whole house, and I did it. But I'm also on a ladder every day of my life, and I'm real comfortable on roofs. I'm comfortable handling tools at heights. So if you have to factor that in, if you're not comfortable doing those kind of things, then you have to pay someone to do it. Anything is better than nothing, generally. The ones I don't like are the foam ones. They make foam blocks that just sit down in your gutters. And foam blocks end up catching a lot of stuff and kind of fill up your gutters in a premature manner. I mean, like they don't do what you think they would do of keeping the leaves out. They end up trapping a lot of stuff in there, and you end up getting soggy mess, deteriorated sponges out of your gutters after a while. But it is truly, you get what you pay for.
All right, thank you.
Now that we talked about the outside and the exterior of our homes, now that we're coming into winter, we all like fires in our fireplaces. What kind of should there be an annual maintenance on fireplaces, or is it something that we don't need to do as often?
The maintenance of your fireplace is dependent upon the amount of fires that you burn and the quality of wood that you're burning in that fireplace. So what I mean by that is if you tend to burn fires throughout a whole winter, you're going to have annual maintenance. And annual maintenance is what they call a level 2 chimney inspection. And that is they will come in, clean the chimney out, and they'll actually put a sewer scope all the way up or all the way down your chimney and make sure that the flue is intact, in good condition, that there's nothing happening in there with birds' nests or other debris, that your damper is working properly and everything else. If you do a lot less fires, you have to do a lot less maintenance. However, if you burn bad wood or not good wood in your fireplace in your house, you will cause yourself increased amount of maintenance. You want very dry hardwoods, so oak, hickory. You don't want to be burning 2x4s, pine, soft woods in your chimney, because the fire won't get warm enough to eliminate the creosote or reduce the creosote that builds up in that chimney liner. And creosote's just like tar, and it builds up inside your chimney liner. And after enough of it builds up, it can catch fire, and it will cause a chimney fire in your house where the flames actually are coming out of the top of your chimney. And it's dangerous. It starts houses on fire.
What about the wood that you get that's like pre-starter? I mean, you buy it at the supermarket, and that's not hardwood. I mean,
No, those are actually pretty good woods. We buy like a $5, $8 bundle like that big.
well, I'm not talking about the bundle. I'm talking about those logs that, you can light a match and they just kick right in.
Mhm.
Those are okay, but they're usually, most people don't use them to start their fire, but they don't use it to keep their fire going. Those
Okay.
but I don't see many people doing a lot of fires with those, because that's a pretty expensive way to go. But yeah, they're not too bad. They're better than burning 2x4.
If we have a gas fireplace, is there something that should we be maintaining that? Obviously, we're not. Okay.
Yeah, no, that has the combustion gases that come out of that are the same as the combustion gases out of your water heater or your furnace, and it goes out a metal pipe. It doesn't have any debris in it. They're very clean burning, and they're very low maintenance, and that's why a lot of people like them.
Okay.
Mike, how to tackle the cold air drafts that are unfortunately coming in for the next 4 or 5 months, probably windows, doors, and also issues with rodents, coming in with the weather change. What's the best way to tackle that?
Those two issues are actually related. There, I had to get rid of a pop-up screen. Those two issues are related. Let's talk about windows first of all. If you have older windows that don't seal, you can always put plastic on them, which some people like to do. They make a removable caulk, zip seal, peel and stick. There's a bunch of brand names out there, and some people caulk their windows, especially in the older homes, to stop the drafts. It's not a bad way to go if you don't like the plastic on your windows. Doors that are not being used can be caulked like that, but you also have to remember you have to leave them available for egress or be able to leave if there's a fire. So a lot of people use draft stoppers along the bottoms of their doors. While we're talking about that, I want to lead right into that rodent issue. Rodents are looking for homes this time of the year. So you shouldn't be covering your air conditioning unit outside of your house. It's not intended to be covered in one of those plastic covers that goes all the way to the ground. And what you end up doing is you end up making a really nice place for mice to live. Those units, those AC units, are designed to be open and air to flow through them and for them to stay dry that way. That's how they don't build up a lot of moisture, because the air is always flowing through them, even in winter. So if you wanted to cover them, you should only cover the top with like a board or something that doesn't allow the snow and leaves to get in it, but don't cover the thing around the sides, because the mice will get in and they'll chew up your wires and your AC unit will not work in spring. The other thing you should do, and this is getting kind of late in the year, we're lucky we have this great weather, is to go around the outside of your house with a caulk gun and or spray foam and fill any hole in your house at the ground level. Because remember that mice don't fly. So they're coming in at ground level. So you will often see that they come in at ground level through holes adjacent to your dryer vent, adjacent to any pipe that enters your house, like your gas meter, where your hose faucets go through. You don't need a very big hole to let a mouse get in there. So if they can walk to it and get to it, they will get in your house. And sealing up all of those holes will greatly reduce your mice in the basement or rodent problem.
All right, good to know. Thank you.
Then Mike, also continuing, I guess it'll coincide with this, obviously with the airflow and stuff like that and the heat getting out of that as well with the windows. Are there any suggestions around the house to actually like save on money to do that? Any tips on that?
Well, a lot of this stuff gets expensive. If you have really drafty, bad windows, really the right answer to that is to replace them with modern windows. However, you have to be able to afford that, and you have to do the cost benefit analysis of will you get that cost back in the house, in the value of the house, and or in the savings with the energy. There's a program in We Energies, the Focus on Energy program, and they will come to your house and they will actually do a complete evaluation of your house and tell you where all of the energy in your house is being used, and they'll make recommendations to improve it, and then they will give you coupons or vouchers so that you can spend that money they give you on making the improvements that they recommend. And they're trying to make your house more energy efficient. So they did it on this house, my house, and they came through and they evaluated the efficiency of the water heater, the furnace, the insulation. They used a thermal imaging camera. They did a blower door test where they pressurized the house and then looked for where all the air was escaping. And they gave me a really in-depth, complete report on, hey, you can seal this up, you can do this, you can do this. And from that, I took some of their suggestions and put them into play. Like I increased my insulation, I changed my front door. And some of the recommendations I just can't do right now. You know, I should change my furnace. It's not the most efficient furnace in the world, but I just can't afford to put that kind of money into a furnace right now. So it was a cost benefit analysis and my personal finances, which helped make that decision.
Oh, weird. That's awesome. I didn't even know about that with We Energies. That's great information.
It costs a couple of bucks. It's like $325 I got paid, but I got way more than that in vouchers. And had I implemented all of their recommendations, I would have made out big time. I just, like I said, I couldn't do everything. I would have had to be into $20,000 of improvements, and I just don't have that money right now. I mean, I have that money.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else, Mike, you can think of? We're going to open it for any live questions if we haven't hit everything possible to ask you.
This is the time to put away your lawnmower. So clean your lawnmower up real good. You know, hose it down, get rid of all the old leaves and debris and grass clippings and everything. And put some gas stabilizer in your gas on the lawnmower if you want it to start in spring. So they sell gas stabilizer. You just put a little bit in your gas tank. You start it and run it for a while so it's through the whole system. And then you park it and it will start in spring. But then pull out your snowblower and make sure it also starts. Because this is the time of the year where the snowblower repair places are just through the roof now until the first snowstorm, with people that pull their snowblowers out of the garages or sheds and it will not start anymore. This is the time to know if that's going to happen before the snow is actually on your driveway.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I just texted my dad about the gas stabilizer.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I know you've got that thing parked outside. You're ready to bring it in the garage for the season. So yeah, good to know.
That's the time to do it because it's really cheap. But I mean, I don't know how many times I've come around spring and the lawnmower wouldn't start, or someone I know's lawnmower wouldn't start for that reason.
Good stuff. All right.
Mike, do you want to tell us more about your company and how we can set it up for inspections? Anything?
Sure. A brief overview. I have 5 inspectors. I'm one of the 5. I don't inspect so much anymore, not as much as I used to, but I still inspect. We inspect all over southeastern Wisconsin. We'll go pretty far. We do about 2 a day, and all of my inspectors do about 2 a day, and they rate same day reports. So if you get an inspection by an inspector in our company, you'll get the same day report. And our focus on it really is education, educating the homeowners. It's more than just reporting all of the things wrong with the house, but talking about preventative maintenance like this discussion is, and talking about strengths and weaknesses of the house. And I think that's one of the parts of home inspecting that's often overlooked, is that there's good parts of the house. And when a home inspector is going through, you have to be equally respectful of the good things of their house and talk about the lack of maintenance or that's going to be required with maybe a vinyl sided house, or that it has a good roof or whatever. It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. It should be a little bit of both, a fair, equal assessment of that house in that condition. Saying these are the strengths of this house, this is the weakness of this house. And that principle has really done our business well. I mean, we stay busy. We have a really strong, good business. We have a little over 800 5-star reviews online right now. And our motto is you earn your reviews, you ask for your reviews, you remind people to give them to you, and then you get them. And that has proven to be a really good model for success in this business.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alexis.
Well, we thank you for sharing all your wisdom. Anyone else, guys? Any other follow-up questions?
I don't got anything.
I think we've covered so much of what we want to do for our interior. I mean, we've talked about windows and water and heat. We've talked about rodents or lack thereof, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So I think we've covered our winterization. We thank you so much for spending this half an hour with us as we've educated hopefully ourselves and clients that are online with us, those that can see this recorded elsewhere and can tune in at a time maybe more convenient to them. For those that are listening, I just wanted to just quickly remind people, Ask Alliance is going to be a regular feature on the first Friday of each month. So our next one will be Friday, December 4th at 2 p.m. Information to follow. But again, thank you for joining us. Have a great afternoon. Have a great weekend. Hopefully the weather will hold, allow us to get outside and hopefully it'll allow us to get outside and do a little bit more home maintenance before we have to shut ourselves down for the winter.
Right.
So again,
If we are prepared, it might stay away. I think we might have jinxed the winter, which I don't mind.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
you
You
as
too.
well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.